Welcome back, Hattie, Leitner, and Laslavic. Anybody see Jim? Anybody hear from Jim? Anybody get a card from Jim? He's on vacation, and we'll have co-hosts through the course of this. When I say vacation, the big guy, number 54, with your San Diego Chargers, has gotten a plan to go all 4 weeks of August and the first 2 weeks of September. I asked you, ladies and gentlemen, and children of the jury, have you ever heard of anyone getting 6 weeks vacation? I mean, we used to get 3 weeks at Channel 8, and I haven't been on one lately, not complaining because I'd rather do this, honestly, and that's what I did in the last 30 years of my career, where you do the football, as I was lucky to do with San Diego State, and then that would go into the basketball with the Aztecs that would start in early November, and that would carry in through the end of the football season as basketball continued, and it would go into March and spring training. Then you go out to Peoria, Yuma before that for old people like me, and then get started with the Padres while the Aztec basketball and NCAA was coming up. And in March, one of the great times for all sports fans, with so many great things are happening. And so I would go do that, and then the basketball would end and your baseball was continuing all the way through September, when football would overlap with the baseball in September, and the same thing with the football going into overlapping with the basketball. And I did that for 30 years without a vacation, not even a week. And it never bothered me. I never complained about it because I just was one of those guys in the upper 1% of not just the country, but I think the world, that loved every second, for the most part, of his work. And it wasn't work to me. It's the old Asian proverb, you find something you love to do, and you never work a day in your life. And that was moi. And I don't regret. I had some great vacations when I had them before that, and I loved every second of it and went to some really cool places. But I would rather, I loved broadcasting, especially the play-by-play part, not so much the talk shows on radio or the studio stuff with Channel 8, but the play-by-play of football, basketball, or baseball. I made that choice. I would rather do that and all of that, sometimes too much, but it didn't matter. When you take on, you bite off more than you can chew, that's okay. But I would personally, I thought I would rather do that. Speaking of baseball play-by-play, Padres were down 2-1. They're tied now 2-2 with the Brewers. This is there are so many average and mediocre teams in baseball. The Brewers ain't one of them. They're really good. They're really, really good. And the Padres won 11-2 yesterday, and there were several home runs. The grand slam, and Camposado's home run, and Tati hits the home run, and they win 11-2, and they won the opening game. So they lost 2 out of 3 in Milwaukee. And Milwaukee's, I think, there are very few really good teams, and that would be the Yankees and the Phillies and the Dodgers, and the Braves to a much lesser extent. But the Brewers are solid, man. They are legit. Padres lose 2 out of 3 in Milwaukee. They got that in their hip pocket before today. They have won 2 out of 3, trying to sweep. They still have a chance to do that with a 2-2 tie. This is getaway day for the Padres. They will leave for Cleveland and have a 3-game series in Cleveland, then into New York against the crappy Mets, and it matters. And the Diamondbacks have lost their game. I didn't check what they were down. I'm assuming they lose. We'll double check. They were down 6-3 to the crappy Rockies in the bottom of the ninth in Arizona. And after the Padres win yesterday, they had a 3-way tie with Philadelphia, the Padres, and Arizona for the final of the 3 wild card spots in the National League. So it's such a bizarre team, but baseball's so bizarre. And it's just, there's a lot of bad teams. And like I said, a lot of mediocre to average teams and no great teams. Some good, no great teams. So in my opinion, and I'm not being a hometown guy, the Padres should be in the playoffs, and they sure as hell should not lose to an absolutely dead-ass average team like the Arizona Diamondbacks. Should not. So as we used to say back in the old days, keep the faith. Keep the faith on 2 levels. Speaking of the old days, and speaking of the Padres going to Cleveland, my co-host today is, I got to tell you, I broadcast over 5,000 Padre games. I don't know the exact number, but it's over 5,000. And in that clubhouse, over my 41 years, that's probably, you figure a 25-man, then a 26-man team, and you bring in a bunch of other guys, so it's probably more like 35, 40 guys per year times 41. So I was dealing with about 1,600 or so players. My co-host is in my top 10 of fun guys who also could play their ass off, who were leaders, who played it the right way. Forgive the cliche, but people say that all the time. My kind of guy to watch and broadcast and to be with, and a guy who would keep them loose in the clubhouse and have a great sense of humor. And I don't know the 1, 2, 3, 4 to 10 if I had to name them, but this guy is in there. And I'm thinking Ken Caminetti's in that top 10 somewhere. Tony Gwynn's in there. Greg Vaughn's in there. Tony, did I say Tony Gwynn? And you know who else was in my top 10? Craig Stammen, who was this manager of this ball club in his first year, was one of the really pitchers are normally not leaders, especially if they're relievers or they're basically playing once every 5 days. They're not normally looked at as leaders or asked to be leaders. But Stammen was. That's why I was thrilled when he was there. But this guy was all of those things, and he was local. He was San Diego all the way from his time at Granite Hills. And speaking of Cleveland, he was drafted by the Cleveland Indians in '89 and had a 15-year career. And Sandy Alderson, who along with James and Billy Bean are pretty much the three fathers of Moneyball. And Sandy Alderson, in his time with the Padres as the CEO, had told me, had told banquets, had told the media in interviews that the greatest Moneyball player with a sense of the strike zone, who's looking to get on base and help his team. He's not looking for his own numbers. He's not looking to feather his own numbers. He's a team player, but he's getting on base. And as the Moneyball player said, batting average is overrated. They even sometimes think RBIs are overrated, but getting on base, getting 100 walks per year, and getting on and getting to the magic level of 400 on base percentage, never mind the batting average. Well, this guy got on base and got on base and got on base with a lifetime 400 on base percentage, which is the magic number, the bellwether that separates you from a person that doesn't know the strike zone, that doesn't take the walks, that chases out of the strike zone. And Sandy Alderson said, this guy is the greatest Moneyball player of all time. This guy is Brian Giles out of Granite Hills High School and the San Diego Padres. Jilly, we have texted back and forth, and I don't remember the last time we actually saw each other, either like this or in person. I have missed you, and I say that with all affection. I miss being around you in the clubhouse for all of your years in San Diego, which was, 6 or 7? How you doing, bud? How you doing?
I'm doing good. We probably don't see much of each other anymore. I've moved to Scottsdale, so I'm no longer in San Diego, but like you said, we've been texting back and forth and talking about different people that we know and things that's gone on. And it's been a great relationship for me, not only because I'm local, but, I was young listening to you and watching your broadcast, even back at Channel 8 when you were the sportscaster there. So, it was a organic relationship when I got traded to the Padres, and we've maintained that pretty well, even though we haven't seen each other.
It's been so cool. It's been so cool. And I'll give you an example of that. You don't think of stuff like that, but with the local guys, after he had gotten here in the trade, and he had been in Pittsburgh, like you had been in Pittsburgh during your career, and Joe Musgrove, and I'm doing an Aztec basketball game, and it's halftime. I've never met him, but I knew one thing, that when the Padres played the Pirates, and Joe was the starter, I thought, wow, I've never seen him except in highlights. This SOB competes. This guy flat out competes. He is going to make the Padres so much better. And I thought that, and I said that, and all those things. But what impressed me so much about the type of guy he was and is that he had seats on the other side opposite side of the arena from me. And then he walked from his seats all the way around the arena during halftime, just to come up to me and introduce himself to me and tell me the same thing that he used to watch me as a kid on Channel 8 and all that stuff. And I got to tell you, Shirley, when you get older, that stuff means so much to you. It means so much when fans do it and viewers and listeners and all that stuff do it. And when Musgrove did it, I thought, you walked around the entire place just to say hi to me. I'm nothing. I'm a nobody. You're a major league ball player. But we had, if you go back to your time in the Padre clubhouse, And I don't know what it was like in Cleveland when they first called you up, or Pittsburgh. But we had, I thought, I said the collective we. I never said that when I was broadcasting, because I thought the team belongs to you guys and the fans. It's not we for a broadcaster. And we had great clubhouses around here. I thought with you guys and the guys and your teammates with the Padres during that time from '03 to '09. Would you agree? Because it's not always that way. There are selfish guys. There are fistfights. There are arguments. There are all sorts of stuff. I thought San Diego had great clubhouses. Am I full of crap or what? Or is it true?
No, you're spot on. I mean, I think what I liked about my years in San Diego, obviously I closed out the Murph, or not the Murph, but Qualcomm back then in 2003, and then we moved into the beautiful Petco Park.
Yeah.
But I will say, the time that I spent in San Diego, what I can say about our clubhouse is guys were accountable, and once you have accountability in that clubhouse, that means they know their responsibility, they know what to do to get their work in, and it makes it a lot easier for a manager. And we were blessed to have Boch and Buddy Black there the years I played, and both great guys. And Boch is a super great guy, awesome guy.
You know what? When I have this in my mind, it's emblazoned in my mind because it scared me so much that I don't know if it was '05 or '06, and it's back-to-back division titles. You're on that team, and we're having a celebration in the clubhouse. I get done with the broadcast, I come down, and it's the champagne thing and all this stuff, and guys are all smoking cigars, and I'm standing here, and Boch is standing there, and Robert Fick, backup catcher, wild man,
yeah,
interesting guy, interesting cat, Jilly, interesting cat, and instead of beer and champagne, he's got a bottle of tequila. I don't know if you remember this or not. He walks up to Boch with a bottle of tequila, and he pours it over his head, and Boch has got a cigar in his mouth, and I'm thinking he's going to blow him up. He's absolutely it's like doing a flambe at tableside at a restaurant, baked Alaska. He's going to blow up the manager. And I Ficky! And Boch didn't realize what he was drinking, but I had seen him before. What are you drinking? Tequila. And I'm thinking, we're going to kill the freaking manager. You remember that? It was unbelievable.
It was great. I mean, just like you said, I mean, you wouldn't think of Robert Fick during that era, 2003 to 2009 when I played there. But, I mean, what a job Kevin Towers did bringing in the personalities and the players that kind of meshed. And like I said earlier, guys that they knew, they held themselves accountable. So they didn't have to worry about that. But I do remember that. And I remember Boch reminding Ficky all the time, like, hey, I wasn't worried about the cigar as much as I was. The tequila was much more. I mean, the burn in his eyes was much worse than the champagne that we were pouring. So,
yeah,
but that's a typical Fick situation. That guy, he was great to have, and he kept as a role player, he really did keep the clubhouse loose as well.
And I also thought same thing. Cammy could be terrific during his time here, Ken Caminetti, but he could also be tough. And I thought guys like Fick and you and those guys, if it's the kind of thing where a manager doesn't have to police the clubhouse, because you guys do that. And if there's a young guy or a new guy and he steps out of line and he's running his mouth about me, I, you guys would take a guy like that aside. True?
Yes. I mean, like I said, they did a great job of bringing in players that mashed and guys that knew what their role was on the team, the accountability that they had to have, the work ethic they had to have. And I mean, by far, I mean, that was the longest tenure team I played for was the Padres, but I mean, we had solid guys up and down those years that I played in San Diego. It was a lot of fun to be a part of.
And then fans may be watching this and say, yeah, they always say that it's the family. It's not a team. It's a family, and they're really together. And yada yada yada. But when you're in spring training for 6 weeks and you're living with these guys, and then you're 162 games in a 6-month season. And unlike all the other sports you play almost every single day, you're spending more time with them than you are your family. So when you have that dynamic and it matters, and those 98 guys, they text each other like every other day to this day. They became family. So people and fans will say, nah, that's overrated. No, it's not. Tell them it's not. It really matters. When you care, you got that guy's back, and you literally, I don't care if it's a bar fight or something in the street, you're coming to his aid. He is your brother. That's not overrated.
Oh, certainly not. I mean, that's how you create success. And in we had a couple division wins, and then we were close to two other ones that slipped away. But
Yeah,
we don't put ourselves in that position after 162 games if we don't have guys that mean a lot, care, and get along. And we did that in San Diego during my time there.
I remember when we had a pitcher, and I will not embarrass him. I would never do that on the air ever. And he was talking about, I'm in the bullpen, but damn it, I should be starting. I've been starting. I know I can do both, but I should be starting. And Cammy went and took everything out of his cubicle in the clubhouse, and he put it in Bochy's office on the floor. You probably heard this legend. And he comes in, said, "Hey, what the hell? Who took my shit? What's going on here?" I think your stuff's in Bochy's office on the floor. What? And he goes in there and he sees it on the floor. Who the hell did this? And he turns around and there's Caminetti saying, "I did it." Silence. Cammy, why? Because I read in the newspapers that you're the manager. That you make the decisions, or they want your input as the manager to the general manager, perhaps, who should be starting and who should be relieving. So I thought, look, if you're going to be the manager or the assistant manager, your stuff ought to be in there with Boch. You should dress with Boch. And I'm sorry, but that's exactly what we're talking about. And it was, Cammy, I'm sorry. You're right. It'll never happen again. That's my Padre teams from those years.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and you need those moments, and you have those moments during a course of, and you're together for 6 months out of the year. So you have longer than that with spring training. It's 8 months nearly.
Sure.
You're going to have those. You're going to have those little spats. You're going to have those little moments where there might be a little bit of controversy, but the bond in the clubhouse is so tight that you can talk your way through it. And you move on from that situation, and everybody rallies behind that. And then that's when you earn the respect in your clubhouse that, hey, even though we might not see eye to eye at sometimes we can have these differences, but once that game, so that first pitch is thrown, we know what we're out there trying to do. We're trying to win a baseball game.
Yeah. I also remember the one where Ricky Henderson, who everybody on the other team didn't like Ricky, but one on the Padre team, everybody loved him. And on the A's, everybody loved him. And funny guy, and good God, what a great player. And I remember when he came in standing one time, and would have been safe if he slid. He came in standing. He's out in a pretty close ball game. By the time he gets in the clubhouse, by the time he gets in the dugout, Caminetti is in his face and just says, "Hey, Rick, no offense, but that better never happen again. That's a run right there. Cammy, I got it. I got you. I swear. I got it. I promise you it will never happen again." Other people had thought Ricky didn't care. No, he was great. He truly cared. You know what got me, Jill? I actually mentioned this story once. I was on a plane after he retired. He was already not inducted, but he was voted in the Hall of Fame. And I'm on a Southwest flight, and I look across the aisle, and there's Ricky. And Ricky has no idea who I am after all those years in San Diego. He wouldn't know his teammates. I remember one time it was Klesko told me it was a one-run game, and Klesko was on third as the potential tying run, and Ricky was the tying run to third base, and he's yelling at Klesko, "Drive me in, T! Drive me in!" And Ryan was thinking, who the hell is T? Tony's not even on deck, and I ain't Tony. We have to say we have a lockers back to back in the old place, but who's he talking to? That was Ricky, so I knew he didn't know me, but I said, "Hey, Rick, Ted Leitner with the Padres." "Hey, yeah, good to see you, man. Where are you going?" I'm going up home, Oakland, to a college up there. I'm sitting in auditing a class on speech communications, and I thought, why? He said, "Because I got to give my Hall of Fame induction speech, and people say I say funny stuff and dumb stuff, whatever, but I don't want to embarrass myself. I'm a professional, and I want it to be a good speech." And Jilly, I had tears in my eyes. I thought, this guy's awesome. As awesome as I thought he was as a teammate with the Padres, to do that, not just a pro to play baseball, the best leadoff man that ever lived, but he is studying because he doesn't want to embarrass himself and his family or his teammates. Is that a dandy or what?
He's a beauty. So I got to meet Ricky a couple times, but towards the end of his career and the beginning of mine.
Right.
And comes funny enough in that story is he comes up to me and goes, "Hey, make sure you save your money." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Thanks for the advice, Ricky." He goes, "Yeah, because you and I have the same financial guy." So him and I, that's how we kind of started talking, as
That matters.
we had the same financial guy. And so, he was is a veteran and a younger guy coming up, and you watched him play, obviously. So you love the way he played the game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just such an honor to be able to sit there and talk to him. And what a great guy he was.
And I'm not talking badly about him in any way, but Billy Bean of Oakland, I asked Billy because the legend was that when he played for the A's, he signed a 3-year, $12 million deal, and they sent him a check for the signing bonus, which was I don't know how many tens of thousands, and he framed the check. Chili's
$1
ahead of
million
me.
check.
Chili's ahead of me. This is great because he framed the check and he put it on the wall, and it became such an amazing legend and story that when the comptroller saw that the books were not balanced, and he called Rick at home in Oakland and said, "Ricky, what about that 12 I think it was 12,000, whatever, part of a much bigger deal. And what happened to that check? I got it framed on in my den. But Rick, what about the interest? The what?" And so I asked Billy Bean, and he literally did not answer me, but he smiled, and that's our boy Ricky.
Yeah, he was great, man. I mean, that guy, I just love watching him play because,
Oh
like I
God,
said, I mean, somebody that can hit for power, can and steal a base whenever you want. I mean, he was a game changer, and um, just a great guy. Pleasure to be around.
yeah.
I only known him for a short period of time, and thankfully, we both had the same financial guy. Otherwise, I might not have been able to talk to him during batting practice. But what an awesome guy he was.
Okay, and died too young. It's just so much of that going on, especially in this city. A lot of losing Billy Ray Smith of the Chargers and then Cammy in a freaking crack house in the Bronx, and all the pain we've had with those guys. It's we're not that big a city, but we've had more than our share of losses on all the different, from Junior Seau and then Eric Shaw way back when, before your time with the Padres, and so many others. Man, oh man, oh man. What was it like to play with Marcus, your baby brother, for it was the 1 year, wasn't it? It was 07, as I recall, right?
'07.
Right. What was that? Had to be I know it was a kick for your dad because he and I discussed it, and he was walking 3 feet off the ground. Two of his boys, both his boys are in the major leagues. Both his boys were all stars, for God's sakes. Both you and Marcus, and had solid careers. So your parents, they just had you made them so happy, and your mom, I'm sure, still will tell you that. But what was it like to be with Mark?
Oh, it was great. I mean, it's funny you mentioned my dad. I got drafted, and eventually later on, Marcus gets drafted.
Right.
And he goes, "Son, what are your goals?" And Marcus and I sat there and told him, we said, "Well, we'd like to get to the big leagues. We'd like to win a World Series. And then thirdly, we'd like to play together at some point." And that doesn't happen very often. And, in 2007, we needed a second baseman, and Atlanta was getting ready to let Marcus go. KT, we were going to try to trade for him, but KT thought that he'd be let release. So we waited till he got released, and then that's when KT jumped on it. But I mean, it's hard to get to the big leagues. And when you have a brother that gets to the big leagues and then you're able to play together, that's pretty special. And that's, we talk about it all the time. Yeah, there's other things we could have done, but nobody can take that away from us. And it was a special moment, not only for him and I, but for our whole family, which you got to know pretty good in the tunnels there at Petco, and my mom would be sitting there waiting for you and Jerry to walk in, and
Yeah.
you would show her your stretch marks and say, "Oh, that's my son out there in right field." It was just great.
The best.
She loved waiting for you guys to come in and before she'd head up to her suite to watch the game. So it was a great moment for Marcus and I, and for the whole family, for the whole Giles family. Was
That's what I did one time
great.
during the steroid era when everybody's accusing everybody. So I called my talk show and said, "You think Brian Giles might be on steroids?" And I said, "Have you met his father?" Huh? Have you met his father? He has a chest that there's like he swallowed a barrel. He's built. Brian is built just like him, and Marcus has a little bit of that. And they don't need that crap. They have power. They've always had power from the time they were at Pee Wee to high school, and that took care of that caller. And I was legitimate in saying that because when I met your dad, I said, Brian is his dad. He's got this. He's got that kind of body to begin with. And I remember when Tim Morrell when his parents, Tim had his brother Todd in Los Angeles, and his dad and mom had a jacket that was half Dodger blue and half Padres, and they would wear that. It's the same thing with your parents. I got two guys in the major leagues, and I can't imagine. Like I said, man, no matter how you think, and I know you miss your dad so much, and you do have your mom still, which is great, but you made them so happy.
Yeah, it was like I said. I mean, they made us happy. They obviously brought us up the right way,
Right.
taught us the right things to do, and we were just so blessed to be able to play together. And it was fun playing against him when he was with the Braves and I was in Pittsburgh and San Diego. But to be able to play together on the same team
Yeah.
and being from San Diego, I don't think it gets much better than that. The only thing we're missing was a World Series championship.
Yeah, man. The Giles brothers, Marcus, who is what? So 7 years younger, right?
7 years.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you this. I've got a brother who's, I'm 79. Chili, I'm 79. How the hell did this happen? It's, it's like I get up in the morning, I look in the mirror and I say, where the hell did I go? Who is this? Who is this with the white hair and all that crap and the law and the whatever this like the turkey neck and the big bags under. Where the hell am I? What is it? This is not me. I know me. I recognize my voice. I know me, but this is not me. This is totally bizarre. So I'm 79. I got a brother who's 80 and a brother who's 85. So like me and my oldest brother, that's like you and Marcus. To where with my brother who was 2 years older, he'd hit me fungos. He would throw me passes till my hands bleed for college, for high school football. And we would do things. We would go to Yankee games as New Yorkers. But my oldest brother, it was the kind of thing where, 6 years older, he's with his friends. Hey, go home. Get the hell out of here. Go home. He's with his friends. I'm with my friends. What was the dynamic with you and Marcus? Because you're too old to ever be on the same team until 2007 with the San Diego Padres, which was the big payoff. But during that time, in terms of relationships and running together, how close or non-close were you because of the age difference?
Well, we were very close, and a lot of that wasn't by my wanting to be that way. I wanted, like I said, he's 7 years younger. I want to do things in high school with my friends and stuff. But my dad made sure that I think Marcus was the niche sometimes of what Brian was doing. And then also, sometimes I couldn't do things unless I took my little brother. And I was like, Dad, I'm in high school. He's 12 years old and I got to take him to a high school party. This is ridiculous. And Marcus would put on his cowboy boots and a cowboy hat and he'd go out with us. And they're like, you had to bring your brother to this party? I'm like, yeah, it was either he comes or I don't get to go. And so Marcus, I think it taught Marcus a lot of things, good things early on in age. But certainly the way it created him, it gave him just the stuff he got to do. I mean, in the summer times in high school, he would go out to Cleveland. He got to take early batting practice at the Jake. I mean, the stuff he got to experience that I didn't get to experience because he was younger. He was able to do those things, and I think it groomed him well. He was a lot more mature when he got to the big leagues than I was because he had already experienced a big league clubhouse, and I never had been through that. So we had a lot of fun. We're still very close today. We're best friends, and it was just cool to kind of see where he is now and how what kind of player he actually became. He was a really good player for about 6-7 years.
See, this is really cool because people will say, well, Jillian and I are talking sports. But see, this about his brother and the family dynamic, there's thousands of people out there who've had that in terms of their brothers or sisters, their relationships, and what do you do? And it's I got to take my brother along and all that stuff. And it's a pain in the ass. I'm sure for the older brother, I'm sure it was for mine. But my father didn't make my oldest brother take me along. But what a great thing for your father to do and know that dynamic will make my family closer, will make my two boys closer. And that's tells me a lot about your dad. It really does. And Marcus in 2003 with the Braves, he was as good as any second baseman in freaking baseball, man.
Yeah, he for 2 or 3 years he was up there with the Brett Boones and him, and there
Yeah.
was they were the best second baseman in the game, and
Yes.
I think I think it was 2003, yeah,
Yep.
or it might have been 2003. I think he made the All Star game.
Right. You did.
Remember, that's when
2003.
Pryor. Remember, he got kneed in the noggin, was just laid out,
Right.
and we were in Houston. I remember this. I was with Pittsburgh, and I come in the clubhouse, and door attendant goes, "Hey, you might want to call Wrigley Field. Your brother looked like he got hit in the head pretty good." So I went in there. I called the trainer's office, and Braves trainer picks up and says, "Yeah, hey, brother got a really bad concussion. We're going to go to an MRI on his head or a CAT scan."
Right.
He goes, "He wants to talk to you." And I pick the phone and say, "Hey, bud, you all right?" And he's crying. And I was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I didn't make the out, I guess." And I said, "I don't think they're worried about the out right now. They're more worried about your head." And so, and then he had, I don't want to make excuses, but he had some significant injuries. The head thing messed him up there. He
Right.
also had a broken collarbone when Andrew Jones ran right through him, and that was a concussion and a broken collarbone. So he had some injuries that kind of derailed him early on, where it could have been different if we would have stayed healthy. But the game's so hard, and you're fortunate to stay healthy as much as you can. You know what I mean? And I think I was able to do that for the most part. I mean, my knee got me towards the end of my career, but
Right.
I had played a long time, leading up to that.
15-year career for Brian Giles, ex of drafted by Cleveland. And thinking back, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, because speaking of being 79, did I mention Marcus was a 57th rounder? Do you know the list of guys who were 57 rounders who became all stars and made good money? And he's in a short list. His accomplishments, your little baby brother's accomplishments, that is a very small list. That's hardly ever happened that somebody down there at 57 in the old days when they had so many rounds that succeeded like that. So that's another great part of what he did. And Brian, do you know how many times in my last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years broadcasting, we'd get done, we'd be in whatever city, we'd get in the elevator, and one of the other broadcasters would come on and say, "I hate freaking baseball now." And I see former players like Goose Gossage. "This game is bullshit.
Yeah.
This is nonsense. This is crap. These guys with their 2 pitches and they get a save, and I'm out there, and Raleigh Fingers is out there pitching 3 freaking innings, former starters, 3 innings to get a save. This game is now you can't have a collision at the plate, and now you got overshifts and taking bad base into it." And I've talked to so many former broadcasters and former major leaguers and some present broadcasters who say this game is nowhere near what it used to be in the old days. So we'll take you back to the old days, because you got out with Cleveland in '95 and you had 15 years, like I mentioned. Do you like the game the way it's played now or not?
I don't like the way the game's played now.
Okay.
I certainly like some of the changes to the game that sped the game up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back in Cleveland, we were playing 4.5 hour games regularly because, the pitching changes,
Sure.
you know,
Fast in and out of the
throwing
box. In and
over,
out of the box.
stepping out of the box.
Sure.
So I do like how they sped the game up, but the way it's played, I mean, again, I'm a little biased when it was the National League and you had, a
Right.
pitcher and you could utilize your bench a little bit more, because I remember in Cleveland, there's no way I'm going to start in Cleveland. I've got Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton, and Manny
So you
Ramirez.
got Titans in front of you
So
trying to get at bats.
yes, and I'm a young player at the time. I'm 25, 26 years old, trying to get at bats, but there's DH, so there's no way you can pinch hit, get an at bat here and there by pinch hitting.
Right.
And I have 3 superstars that, probably all 3 of them. Manny's gonna go. I don't know if he's in, but he's gonna go. And then Albert certainly should be in there. And I think Kenny Lofton's probably a Hall of Famer in my eyes too. So
those 3 guys are ahead of Jilly when they bring him up from the minors. That's
yeah,
great.
so I wouldn't play for 2 weeks at a time. And then they'd say, "Oh, hey, go in there and you've got Roger Clemens." I'm like, "Oh, this is great, huh?"
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, way to get the number 4 or 5 guy. I'll just step in there against the number 1s. But that builds character for you too, though. I mean, that makes you work harder and makes you, pay attention to detail a little bit more. But I do like the National League when it had the pitcher because you utilize your bench more. And right now with the DH, you don't have to. I mean, the only time you're going to do it is when you have guys that are platoon guys, and they might bring in a lefty to face a lefty, and then that's when they pinch hit for the guy that he platoons with. But other than that, the little things, bunting, hit and run, it's just not in the game anymore. Base stealing isn't to a degree, and I thought that was all supposed to more stolen bases because they had bigger bases now, I guess, and then also you have 3 or 2 throwovers. Then once you do that, you don't have any more. But that certainly hasn't done it. But some of the other things I do, I like the relievers coming in and they have to face 3 batters. I like that. I like the pitch clock. The pace of the game's a lot quicker now, which I
No
like.
question. I would have killed for the pitch clock to shut my mouth and not tell stories and people, because you're filling that up with your stories. And if you've got guys that are, pitch, and you're not stepping out of the box, I'm not telling those stories, and have an executive say, hey, stick your stories where the moon don't shine. Just call the game, give the goddamn score, da, da, da. And I went through that with all the executives with the Padres, but it wasn't my method. It was my madness of that's the game, and it's slower, so you got to have a slower pace and so forth. And honestly, as I would tell some of those guys that would say, you use your humor and your stories, and I say, listen, if I'm doing the Red Sox or the Cubs or the Yankees that win all the time and all those years, we didn't have winning teams many times in the late 70s and 80s with my career. So I thought you had to make it entertaining, or people are not going to stay in there when you're down 9 runs in the 3rd inning. So it was the same kind of thing. But the pitch clock, they had to. Jilly, they had people come in, what they call focus groups in Madison Avenue, and actually Park Avenue, where the Major League Baseball offices are. And they tell them, in this 3-hour and 15-minute average game, how much do you watch on television? And they would say, on average, 20 minutes. And baseball thought, we got troubles. We got big troubles. And it wasn't so much the length of the game, like you said, it's the pace of the game. Pace of the game is too slow. But those of us who loved the game didn't mind that. It's a great game. It's different from all the others. The only game where the defense has the ball to begin with, and nothing happens till that guy on the mound throws it. Sometimes those guys would not throw the damn thing. And we had guys like that, Dennis Rasmussen here and Ramon Martinez with the Dodgers. It's like, throw it. And I would do that on the air. Throw the damn ball. Come on. And those were the guys that I think caused a lot of this, So I would have loved to have that, but you're right. It's a great change because the games are now, you could do a 2-hour and 40-minute game instead of 3.5 for 8.5 innings.
Right. And it's all around the fans and stuff. And like you said, they were doing those little tests, and they were saying that fans are saying the games are too long. So they sped it up in the right way. I just wish it was played a little bit more situational hitting. The launch angle. I don't even know if I'd know how to teach that right now, because I never thought of launching the ball. I always thought about hitting down through a baseball that would backspin and it would launch itself. But there's a lot of analytics in the game now too. That I'd have to study, but I don't understand it, because there's a right way to play a baseball game, and that way wins. And it's just not taught that anyway, because the game's gone away from all that stuff, really.
No question about it. Larry Lucchino, when he was the CEO, they were talking about chemistry in the ball club. And he said, chemistry is good, but biology is better, as in bigger, stronger, bat speed, wrists like this, and guys will get through the zone so damn fast. That's what I want. Chemistry's fine, but I want biology first.
Yeah.
and it's the same thing. I just, too many changes, so many changes. Speaking of changes, with Brian Giles for Jim Laslavic on the podcast today, the owners and the players. I call MLB because I got lucky, Brian. I got lucky. You got 15 years. You got a major league pension. It is the greatest pension in the world, and I don't mean sports pension. It's the greatest pension of any union in the world. Marvin Miller started this for you guys, and it was fantastic after having no representation. And the average salary, when Jerry Coleman was playing, the average salary was $5,000 for 20 straight years. They couldn't get a raise, couldn't bring in an attorney or an agent. Everything was on the side of the owners. Now some say it went too far on the side to the players. But I call Major League Baseball because I got in the last year when they had the non-uniform personnel pension, and I got in on that. And it's made a huge difference for my children and my grandchildren. So I have great respect for MLB, and I owe MLB, as you do, for the great pension way beyond mine that you have. Now, every time I talk to somebody at MLB in New York, they say, enjoy the season, may not be one next year. I'm thinking, oh, you've got to be shitting me. Please, I'm begging because I lived through 1980 and all the others, and 94 when they wiped out the postseason. What do you hear from guys in the association that you still belong to, Major League Players Association, that they're going to lock them out and try to get a salary cap? So Padre fans, listen closely to this, because this is grim as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much of the details. I do
Right.
know that from what I've heard from a clubhouse attendant in San Diego, that there won't be baseball to start the season next year. And, it goes back. I mean, I have mixed feelings. I mean, I'm always going to be the player union guy because they've treated us so well and they've taken care of us so good. But TV revenue is so high right now too. I mean, everybody can't have the same market, but they do share that revenue. And I know that because the way Dodgers have went out and spent a lot of money, a lot of teams are saying, well, we can't compete with that. Well, Dodgers aren't a for sure world championship team this year, in my opinion, from what I've seen. I don't watch it very much, but from what I've seen, you got the Milwaukee Brewers, a small market team that's got the best record in the National League. I mean, you've got a lot of different teams that are doing well that don't have the Dodger payroll. So I don't necessarily think that it's all payroll. I mean, it may give you a little advantage, but when you spend that money on those players, that's up on front office. Like when you want to take that chance and spend that money, you've got to get that production that you think you're spending your money on. And I think there's a lot of guys that aren't living up to that production and that have been paid that way. So I think baseball, especially with the 3 wild cards, that's made it. I mean, look at this year. If you wouldn't have the 3 wild cards, Padres probably would have been a seller going to the deadline. I mean, the Diamondbacks here, they probably would have been a seller too. But now it's kept more teams in the mix. It's made it more competitive and more interesting. This is when I start watching baseball right now, because now it's a sprint. Now it's not the marathon that it was when it starts. So now everything's for real now. And I think the guys recognize it, the players recognize that, and it makes baseball a lot more enjoyable, I think, this time of year.
I believe that. And the other argument in terms of, well, there are some teams that lose money. Okay, as Marvin Miller would always say back then, open up your books and show me that you're losing money. And they would never do that. Okay. And now you have a situation where, well, a couple of teams, small market teams, Kansas City, whomever, they might lose this particular year and maybe they'll lose again a couple of years later. But then you can ask them, what did you pay for the franchise? $400 million. What do you think it's worth now? $2.5 billion. You can't lose money, and you can't. I can't, in all conscience, say I'm an owner, and if I'm a good marketer and I have the right people, we can make as much as possible, which is what the system is like. This is the capitalistic system. You're good at it, and you work your ass off. You can make a lot of money. How can I tell the players I can make this much, but they can only make this much no matter what? When in fact, when I know I'm selling, I'm going to make a profit of a couple of $2 billion. How can I make them have a salary cap when I don't have one? I'm sorry, but that's my argument.
Yeah, I mean, I was back in the era where, we were locked out in '95 for 3 weeks in spring training, and they finally came to the agreement. And the agreement was that there'd be a luxury tax if you spent above this threshold. And then Steinbrenner got really involved. I think you probably remember that, when he's like, well, I'm going to pay for a team because I want to win a championship. So he write a luxury tax to all these smaller market teams. And then when you go look at all the money that, all these teams that were spending above the threshold, they get these luxury tax checks, but they wouldn't put it back into the product on field to, make themselves win. So, I mean, today, most of the owners today are billionaires. This is not, it's an investment, right? Where there's a few owners that, they put their money in on their club, and this is, it's kind of a living for them, but they're not billionaires where they don't have to if this investment tanks, it's not going to kill them. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know. I just think that, Steinbrenner had a point back in the mid 90s. Like, I don't mind paying a luxury tax to make these teams more competitive, but if I don't see that money going into their product, then why do I have to continue to cut a tax? I'm
No
giving
question.
money to the owners to spread out to the investors.
No question. And the late Peter Seidler, who I loved dearly as a friend, was spending money like crazy. He was like a lovely Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner was not a lovely guy. I understand that, talking to people that were with him and had to work for him. My God. And Peter was the anti Steinbrenner, but a guy who had gone through cancer twice and was had a lot of money and was a very smart investor, and he was going to go for it. He was going to go for it because you got a free agent like Manny Ramirez, White Sox and Phillies. That was a done deal. And then he
Right.
said, why not us? Why not us in San Diego? That changed everything. That's why people show up 40,000 at a time, because Peter did that. Not just the Chargers losing, but Peter did that. We're going for it, man. We're going for it. So they come in, and it's a great atmosphere. And just, I wish you could have played in front of 43,000 every day. And you did have good teams and good crowds. But Peter was the reason that happened. And he was benevolent. Let's go for it. Let's try to give San Diego a winner. And then he didn't live to see that, which breaks my heart. But that's just the way it is. Brian Giles with us, co-hosting. And I just want to mention, see if I can take a minute out of this, where you see Starkey up there. If you're older, like I mentioned, Brian can take a drink or whatever. He doesn't have to. Well, listen to this. He's still a young man. He's 55. He's double nickel. He's a kid. Brian's a kid. I would never insult him by calling him, hey, kid. But he's a kid. But when you get older, the hearing, and I wore headphones for 58 years and wore them pretty loud for football, basketball, baseball. So I can't hear for schmutz. I just can't. And so I went through several different companies, several different hearing aids, and on the trotter with those guys with the Padres across the aisle. Huh? What? They thought my first name was what? Or I was calling them what? What? And it drives you nuts. And it also, from a serious standpoint, when your brain doesn't hear these words, it forgets these words, and it increases your chances of dementia, or makes your dementia worse when you're older. Starkey, which used to be Beltone. That's why the address is for email address is Beltone La Mesa at Beltone.com, but it is now the Starkey product, because I used the Beltone. It was okay, but Starkey is great, like a symphony orchestra. You tell Jason that Uncle Teddy sent you at Starkey, and it is Beltone La Mesa at gmail.com. Thank you for your kind attention. Brian, you had a year. I looked it up because I knew you were coming on, obviously. I believe it was 99. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You had 38 playing for Pittsburgh. And people thought, well, Brian didn't hit a lot of home runs here. I refer you to Barry Bonds when they opened up Petco Park. And they asked him, not that I care what he says, but he said, it's home run proof. It's home run proof. 411 in right center. And thank God Sandy Alderson moved them in and whatever. And people thought Brian should hit, the 35 and the 39 and the 33 he did in Pittsburgh. Please. He wasn't just getting older and later in his career. You can do it at Pittsburgh at PNC, but you cannot do that here. So they thought, whoa, boy, he's not hitting the home runs anymore. But in that game, in that season in Pittsburgh, 38 home runs, 103 runs batted in, 135 walks, and an on-base percentage, which is really all that matters, of 435. I don't know how many people ever had a season like you had in Pittsburgh that year. I hope you were handsomely rewarded during that time there. And Dick Freeman, who was our CEO here, was the CEO in Pittsburgh. And I talked to him, and he said, hey, you know what I've got? I got a brand new ballpark, but I need my one star to stay here. And we don't sign our stars because we don't have the money, but we're signing Brian Giles. He's our guy. He's the face of the ballpark. He's the face of the franchise. And I hope he rewarded you handsomely, and you're still having a great life with that money, because you earned it that year. And what you were doing there in 4 straight 30 home run years. Fred McGriff told me one time, do you know what it takes? Because Freddie did that. You know what it takes to hit 30 home runs 4 straight years? Fans have no idea. And you did that, and all the walks. You were, as Sandy Alderson said, the greatest Moneyball player with the greatest eye at home plate of all time. I hope you look back and now can look back with perspective on, I really did have great accomplishments and a great career.
I think I do now because you have people approaching. I just went out to play to win,
I know,
baseball games.
I know.
I didn't care about what my career numbers were. Obviously, I put up some good career numbers, but
Oh yeah,
I think the older you get and people recognize you and they come up and they go, man, I looked up your numbers. And, it was a guy that's painting our awning here at the house. And he's like, I didn't know you played baseball. I looked you up and boy, you had a heck of a career. I was like, well, thanks. I said, I didn't really notice it myself. I mean, I thought I had a good career. I felt good about my career, but I wasn't sitting there dwelling on it. But that year in '99, that was the year that I got traded from Cleveland to Pittsburgh in that offseason of '98.
right.
And that was the first. Gene Lamont called me in the office first day of spring training. He said, hey, you're going to play all the time. And I said, okay, good. And I said, do I get to play against lefties? He goes, you're playing 162 games. And so that frees your mind up because, like I said, in Cleveland, there's no way I'm going to crack that lineup. I mean, those guys are studs. So I could never get a full season of, 500, almost 600 plate appearances under my belt because I was playing with a bunch of studs in the outfield. So 99 kind of freed my mind up. Guys were great there. We had a great little nucleus there in Cleveland. Too bad. I mean, in Pittsburgh, we just couldn't win. And when you don't win, then obviously there's a lot of changes that go on. But 99, it just felt so free out there, and I got to experience. I've never experienced it, and so I got to experience for the first time of what playing every day was like, and that relaxed me. Obviously, when you get some hits and you hit some homers, you build confidence, and that confidence kind of snowballed. And I had a pretty good year in 1999. And
Pretty
the
good.
Pirates, it was in the same situation as San Diego when we were closing down Qualcomm, moving to Petco. In Pittsburgh, we were closing down Three Rivers and moving into PNC Park, and they wanted, the park was, I mean, built for me. It was short porch there in right field, and I like to turn on the thing. So they ended up signing me to a 5-year deal, and I think I played 3.5, almost 4 years of that before I got traded to San Diego. So Pittsburgh, it's a great ballpark. I was just back there the opening day there, and Jason Kendall and I were back to throw out the first pitch, and got to see Brownie up there, who you're pretty close with, and in the TV telecast. So that
Sure.
was a lot of fun to see a
Right
bunch of people I haven't seen in a long time, since
Yeah.
2009.
Is Bob Walk still broadcasting or no?
Yeah, Walkie's still broadcasting. So
For those of you who don't know Bob Walk, they call him Whirly Bird. He was like Ricky Henderson, kind of a different kind of guy, and now broadcasting. And I've known all these broadcasters in Pittsburgh for a long time and loved them. And Bob Walk, when the hitters were still hitting, pitchers still hitting in the National League, walked the home plate. He was on deck. He walked the home plate and got in the box and realized he had not brought his bat. That's Bob Walk. True story. True story. That's when the Whirly Bird thinking, boy, this guy is from another planet. That's those guys. And I knew that because on YouTube, right after opening day for Pittsburgh, there was a shot and sent out from Pittsburgh of Jason Kendall, whose father, of course, Fred Kendall, was a catcher here for Randy Jones and those guys, for Jerry Coleman, the manager, way back when, late 70s and 80. And it was chilly. And Jason Kendall being interviewed during the game, and the Pirate fans, they were introduced to the Pirate fans, and those guys at that era, though they weren't winning and getting in the playoffs, like they've become much better now. But Jason Kendall and Brian Giles are big deals to that Pittsburgh crowd. I was glad to see they recognized how terrific you were.
Yeah, they did a great job. I mean, I didn't know what to think of it. It's been a long time. I hadn't been back to Pittsburgh since 2009, so it's been 16 years. But we got a really nice ovation. A lot of people were very, generous to us, very complimenting, and it was fun to go back and, like I said, see some of the people that are still there, which is crazy. But the thing that hit me the most when I was there is I can't believe that it's been 25 years since we opened that ballpark in April. It's crazy. It is crazy.
And I don't want to be a homer because I love Petco Park, and I know how much it was a battle to get it on against these morons filing their lawsuits that had no merit whatsoever, and holding back the progress and keeping a major league club, and then we lose an NFL club. We don't get Petco. We might not have a major league baseball team, and that's John Moore's saving that, Larry Lucchino, and many, many others. and just wow, just amazing to me what had gone on during all that time. But Petco is a beautiful place. I happen to think PNC in terms of the ballpark, but more so the skyline. Like you could
Yeah.
feel from the press box, I could reach out and touch it. It's so close, and the river then, and the bridges across from that area back to downtown. And at night, you got the reflection of the moon off the water, and you got the sun during the afternoon. I think PNC is just spectacular.
It is. It is
Oh,
spectacular. And it's funny you say that, is when we were there for the 4 or 5 days that we were in Pittsburgh before, for the opener,
right.
uh, obviously we were staying downtown. So we'd walk across that bridge sometimes and I never did it because I played there and, I lived, north of the city. Pittsburgh was, downtown was just now then starting to re-renovate and get all this stuff around there.
Yeah.
It's super gorgeous down there now. And they've done a
Yeah.
great job with that. And they've built it between Hines and PNC Park. They've been able to, build all that stuff around it, and people come. It's great.
It's a great city. Larry Lucchino grew up there, and he was our CEO. And I would see some stupid Pittsburgh joke, about steel mills and blue collar work and all that. And he'd call me in my hotel room every time it was ringing after a game. What the hell do you know about Pittsburgh? You don't know nothing. What have you ever seen about Pittsburgh? No, really. Tell me what you've seen about Pittsburgh. We stay downtown, and that's about all I've seen. There's beautiful rolling hills of beautiful green grass and beautiful homes. You don't know shit.
Yeah, they do. I mean, my house, when I signed my extension there in Pittsburgh, I bought a house out, about 30 minutes north of the city. And
Yeah.
it was a beautiful home. I mean, those brick homes back in the East, Midwest, East,
Yeah.
just a beautiful home. And it was, obviously it's great to be able to have something there right when you break camp instead of, running around searching for a rental like I did the first 3 years in Pittsburgh or in Cleveland.
Right. Jilly, I asked Jim Laslavic this because he was in professional sports. Because what you do best, what you get paid for, what you're absolutely terrific at, like him, like you, usually, early mid-30s, it's over. It's totally over. And that doesn't happen in broadcasting or law or even a truck driver or what have you, or an insurance salesman. You guys go through a trauma of losing, other than your family, what you love the most to do, and you'll never be able to do it again. How much did you miss it? How bad was the transition when you couldn't do it anymore? Because physically you just can't do it anymore. How bad was it, or how good is it now?
I always thought I was pretty good at preparing myself. Like, I was prepared to fail because I figured, one point in my career, I'm not going to be able to do it anymore. So I kind of prepared myself for not being able to physically go out there and compete and do the things. And I recognized that in 2009 when I went to camp with the Dodgers. My knee wasn't the best, and I went out there and I tried. And then once you have an injury and it takes the fun, and I was 38 years old at the time too. Once it takes the fun out of the game, you're kind of, it's time. And I prepared myself for that. I think the thing that you still miss today is the camaraderie with the fellows, the clubhouse. You were on the flights with us, the flights to different cities, being able to go out to have a nice dinner, the guys in the clubhouse, just the stupid things you have to do to keep yourself, making the game still fun because it's so hard. Right. And those are I can still do it now in the golf course because they laugh at my golf swing. But I think those things, those moments, that bonding with the guys, you're not gonna ever have that again. Nope. I mean, nope. Not even if you play in a softball league now, it's still not the same as Major League Baseball and the stuff you get to experience. So that was the thing that hit me the hardest. Physically, I knew it was time. And like we said, I felt like I got the most out of myself, and my body just wasn't going to let me do it anymore. So I knew it was time to step away. But you still, when you run into Kendall and we start talking in Pittsburgh about the stuff we used to do, I mean, it's just really crazy. Those are the things that you miss the most.
Yeah.
And you're never going to have those again unless it's, a special time, like the 25th year anniversary for PNC Park. Petco's coming up to 25 years here shortly too. So it's all those things that you got to experience during those years that you play together that you don't get back. And that's the toughest part of not being able to, experience those things anymore.
Great. And you have this perspective, and that, like, the young like Ricky said, you took care of your money. You were smart, and you can look back and say, and I played. I can tell you this personally because I saw you every game here that you played. Like the old timers, old school. You played the game the way it was supposed to be played with toughness. There was never me, I. If I approached you or guys like that and say some kind of a numbers, you would always, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to talk about numbers. I don't care about anything but winning. And that's not BS. And I got that from you as much as any player in those 41 years that I was in the clubhouse. And so I salute you for that. I love you, brother. I appreciate it so much that you came on. When did you move and where are you? I don't even know where you are right now.
Oh, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm
Gotcha.
close. I still come to San Diego quite a bit. My daughter lives there still, but I moved in 2020. Once she graduated high school, we moved out here. So I've always liked Scottsdale. I lived in Greyhawk when I was in Peoria for spring training. So I always thought one day this might be a spot, and I enjoy it a lot. And it's a 45-minute flight to get back to San Diego to go see my brother and my daughter and some other friends that, I've grown up with low there. So
and it's only 1,000 degrees. It's no big deal. But as Johnny Carson always said, yeah, it's low humidity. Yeah, it's low humidity in my oven, but I don't stick my head in there. So it's still hot.
It is hot. That's why the 3 months of summer, I'm back in San Diego quite a bit during that time just to take breaks out of the heat.
Yeah. Jelly, thanks for coming on. Thanks for the joy and the memories of watching you play and broadcasting your games the way it should be done, like I said. And best of health to you.
Thanks, Ted. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate, we still keep in touch. And also, I'm honored to be on the show. Like I said, as a kid growing up, it was always Ted Leitner and Jerry Coleman and stuff like that. So I'm glad you're still doing it. And you do a great job. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Brian. Take care, bud.
Okay. Thanks, bud.
Brian Giles, on behalf of Jim Laslavic on vacation somewhere on the planet Earth with Joe Nelson, producer Joe, our producer. Great to see Giles. Great to see the Giles brothers anytime. Great to see them together. It was just a special part of Padre baseball and back-to-back division titles and all that stuff. Memories in the corners of your mind. Can't beat it. Uncle Teddy with you. We'll see you again with another co-host. And this is the most we talk baseball and Padres probably since we started this a couple of months ago. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other.